Getting ready can take a lot of time. However, you can save time by using hot rollers. Back with me again is my friend Bree. You might remember her from my how to wear a wig video. Today I'm gonna do a beautiful set on her that's not gonna look like 90s glam hair. It's gonna just look beautiful for 2019. Before I go into a set on Bree, I wanna first establish what you're gonna need. The first thing that you're gonna need, and I always recommend if you're gonna be using heat, is a heat protector. This one from Aveda is super lightweight and it's not gonna weigh down your hairstyle. The other optional product would be using a lightweight hold hairspray that's just gonna keep your curl in place for a little bit longer. The other thing to consider is what type of hot roller do you wanna use? I have two different types. The first is a more traditional style of hot roller where everything has been plugged in and is staying nice and hot, and I can easily pick up each hot roller. Then I have another type of hot roller. This one is from FHI, and what's fun about this one is that it creates instant heat. So what you do is you take your roller that you're gonna be using, you press it down, and it gets the hot roller nice and ready. This is good if you're only gonna be using maybe 2 or 3 rollers at a time. And just like that, you have instant heat and it's ready to go. The other thing that I recommend for hot rollers is to use this type of clip. It's much easier to hold the hot roller in place when you have a clip that goes all the way around the roller. As I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna show you how to do a beautiful set for 2019. The first thing that you need to consider is what size of hot roller do you need to use. With a larger hot roller, you're gonna get a bigger curl or mostly volume. When you're using a really small roller, you're gonna get a lot of curl. And then if you work with in the middle, depending on your hair length, you might get a lot of volume or you might not. The reason why I mention all of this is your sectioning is going to affect your type of curl. When you section hair, it's important to think of how large do you want your section to be. Because I can take the same size roller, and if I change the sectioning, I can get a very different result. So if I was to use this roller here and take all of this hair and set the hair on this roller, what'll end up happening is that it's gonna sit a little straighter on the sides. And because there's more hair on this roller, it's going to sit a little less curly. Whereas if I used the exact same roller and I took a very tiny section and curled it, this piece of hair would come out very curly. Ideally, what you wanna do and how rollers are designed is you wanna make sure that you're not going past the length of the roller. And if you were to turn the roller, you also don't wanna make sure you're going past its width. If you do that, you're gonna get something that's gonna be a bit too big and maybe won't have an even curl throughout. And if you go smaller then, it's gonna sit a little bit tighter. In addition to that, how we wind the hair around the roller is also important. So if I was to take this large roller here, and the section size is correct, and I was to roll the hair from the top and then put in the ends, what this will do is it'll create a lot of root lift. So if you find that your hair is falling flat, you actually wanna set the hair this way. The opposite would be true if I wanted to have the ends more curly and less volume at the top. I would actually start my winding all the way at the bottom first and then slowly make my way to the top of the hair. So for this set, I wanna make sure that it doesn't have too much volume. So what you're gonna see me do is I am gonna first start by using some of my smaller rollers, and I really just wanna have a bit of curl towards the end. So I'm gonna start winding from the bottom, and I'm gonna work up to the head, and then I'm gonna use my clip and just clip that in place. Why I love hot rollers is you can easily put them in, and then you can continue to get ready for your night out. So I'm gonna continue this process up the head. And as far as sectioning goes, when you're doing this on yourself, your sectioning does not need to be perfect, but just keep in mind as far as what the guidelines are. So I don't want to take anything that's going to become too big or too long, or my roller might fall out. And like you at home, you're probably going to be using your fingernails to section off, so you do not need to do this too perfectly. Now that you've seen how I've done the back, I'm gonna explain to you how to do the front. Oftentimes people make the mistake of having a really severe parting with hot rollers. It can be really hard to get that out afterwards. So I recommend that you make a horseshoe section so that you can section away the top. That way you can deal with the sides first. When I'm working on the side, I'm gonna use the slightly smaller or medium size hot roller. And here you're gonna see that I'm gonna take a slightly larger section. And what I'm gonna be doing is I'm actually gonna direct the hair downward. Because if I lift the section too high, what that'll do is it's gonna create a lot of volume, and I'm almost gonna get sort of a 90s society kind of hairstyle. Whereas what I'm looking for is something with lower volume, more of a loose wave that's trending right now. So again, just rolling that hair and being mindful to keep this roller closer to Bree's ear. That way I don't get too much volume. So I'm gonna continue in this manner in this whole section. And then I'm gonna show you some tricks as I get to the top. So when we're thinking of the top section, what's important is to have it sit with enough flatness towards the top. So I'm gonna use the large roller, and I'm gonna divide the top section into 4. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna think about directing the hair away from Bree's face. So starting at about the middle of the hair length, I'm gonna wind, and then I'm gonna slowly wind this closer to Bree's head. Now, before I clip it, so that I don't get any sort of clip marks, I'm actually gonna take a little piece of tissue, or in this case, I've taken just a strip of paper towel, and I'm gonna lay that on top. And what this will do is it'll protect the hair from any unnecessary mark that you might get from the clip. As I did on one side, I'm gonna do to the other. So I'm gonna first separate that piece of hair, and why I like to work side to side is if your arms get tired, if you're working side to side, you know that you're at least gonna kind of stop around the same time in the same place. So once again, winding that hair back, and then taking a little piece of either tissue or paper towel, anything that you have at home, and then placing your clip on top. You'll also notice that I'm doing this so that it's sitting without any volume at the top. That's because right now in hair, it's not about having a ton of volume at the top as it is having mostly your volume sit along the cheekbone. Now that I've got all of the rollers in, this is where we're just gonna wait for them to cool. We wanna wait about 20 minutes so that the roller is nice and cold, because if you take them out while they're still warm, it means that your hair is gonna be more malleable and it might not hold your curl for all night long. Bree has completely cooled. It's been about 20 minutes. And now what I want to be careful of is how I'm removing these rollers. So it's important that you don't disrupt your curl and that you slowly unwind your roller. What I like to check for as well is after I've unrolled my curl, I like to make sure that I like to see what I've created. Because if I don't like it now, it's easier for me to just pop in my roller and start again. So I definitely like what I'm seeing. So I'm going to just take out all of my rollers. And the last thing that I'm gonna do is just rake my fingers ever so gently throughout the curls. And so what you can see with this hairstyle is that it's sitting nice and smooth at the top, and then there's just a little bit of curl that's happening through the bottom. And there you have it, a quick roller set that only takes about 20 minutes. Hey, it's Morgan again. If you liked this video, make sure that you've subscribed. I have a new video like this coming to you every week. And while you're at it, share with your friends.